Hello and welcome to Lunch with the Editor. Today we discuss the burning issue of Maoism in Chhattisgarh, particularly the Bastar region, and the impact of the militarization of a whole region. So now, after the April 24th massacre of 26 paramilitary personnel, our colleague Ushinor Majumdar had travelled widely in that region. It took us a long time to get access to various places, but finally we did travel to the deep villages. Our motive, our attempt, our mission was to find out more about the villagers, not about the Maoists. It was not, our attempt was not to retell the Maoist narrative of people's so-called people's war, or to look at the security aspect on how the security agencies, how the paramilitary are fighting their war against the Maoists. So our attempt, our focus was clear. We wanted to know how the people are coping, how the poor, miserably poor Adivasis were coping in that region, which has become heavily militarized due to the Maoists and due to the response of the state against the Maoist violence. So let's hear it. I mean, this is our cover story, the latest issue cover story on the misery of the poor villagers caught in a crossfire between the Maoists and the state agencies, particularly the paramilitary forces who are stationed there, and about the region which has become extremely militarized. So let us hear it first person from the person who had gone there, who was out in the field. Ushinor, explain to us how bad is the situation as far as the villagers are concerned.
I think the situation is getting worse because say about 2-3 years ago the situation had actually started getting a little better. Then I think some of the focus on security, etc., reasons of that, what happened was that, you see, the villages, their access to certain things has greatly reduced. And again, you know, there was so much of extra police and security related activities there. So the Maoists also made their push. And what has happened is, you know, as you will see the photos, as it's clear from the photographs that we have, that it's just villagers somehow living in fear between both of them. I mean, it's back to, we've gone back say about 10 years now. I think we set the clock back 10 years. In these last 2 years or so, it's just set the clock back 10 years at least. And
you mean to say in terms of the living conditions of those villagers?
Absolutely. I'm only talking about the villagers here. As far as the villagers are concerned, access to goods, access to services is zero.
Education?
Education is zero. I mean, the Maoists run their own schools. That's the best. And
if you can call it education.
Absolutely. I mean, that's really not schooling, because it's also
an attempt to create child soldiers and a cadre for the party.
Absolutely, and also embedding of the ideology. You know, when we look at schooling, I guess wherever it is, whether it's in Delhi or in Bastar, it should be sans any ideology. It has to be very objective and neutral. But there it is obviously very ideology based, because it's the Maoists who are running those schools.
It's probably a captive engagement to get in more and more cadre.
Yes, that could be one.
And if then there is a conflict, how can you run a school?
Definitely. But you see, there are also children who've come out of those schools and who've joined more mainstream schools. For example, in places such as Dantewada. We've also spoken about a boy who's just completed his class 12. In fact, he was home for the Tendu leaf collection season, and he just completed his class 12. He studies in Rajnandgaon district, which is closer to Raipur, far away from Bastar. And he was there just for that time. And you know, he goes to school. These people, and I asked both this boy and another girl who was there who's studying in Dantewada in class 9, and both of them strangely said the same thing, that they want to now study maths. And you see, they have very different aspirations, because they have access to, or they have made this access to aspirations. And it also had to do with getting displaced because of the Salvajudo movement 10 years ago. So a lot of them got displaced, and a lot of their parents also sent them out of the villages to go and study elsewhere. And now when they were linked with something which is not covered and guarded by Maoism, they did have an opportunity. So the people who do want to choose it, now it's not everyone's choice, because a lot of people want to stay back and work in the fields or stay within that kind of life. That also must be protected.